Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 13, Monza of PRL. Now, we've already set a lap. It's a very slow banker with a 21.7. I've been setting 20.8s to 21.3s in qualifying practice. Unfortunately, nowhere near on the banker, and indeed, on that second lap which I just showed you all the sector splits of, purple to the second, but inexplicably losing time in the last, especially given that my previous lap was slow in Parabolica. And then I crashed on the final attempt there. But, that was a throwaway lap anyway. So, the conclusion being, I think the game must have lagged at that point, because there's no other explanation for the time loss I suffered somewhere between Ascari and the end of the lap. Anyhow, we line up 7th, way behind Dregler, who's on the front row. It's HSV on pole, I believe for the first time this season, so there's congratulations to him on that. And Tifosi, of course, will be delighted to see a Ferrari on pole. And we'll have to hope that he can challenge Dregler and hold him back, because 25 points to Dregler right now would not be ideal. Now we've overtaken Craig, who had a very laggy start.
That start was okay, now stay alert for threats around you.
And indeed, stay alert for threats around me, that's exactly what I'm doing. Cart Dude's got a good run out of the Rettifilio, and he's heading towards La Rocha, challenging the Haas in front. Danny's made a great start up to third. We've got Murph behind us and no one really else. And inexplicably, a Toro Rosso appears, and it's Danielson. He's hit my front wing, damaged it, and I have to let him back through, but he then lets many other cars back through, presumably because he made an illegal overtake. We'll have a look in slow motion here. You can see behind me is Murph, not Danielson, and all of a sudden in the mirror, out of nowhere, the Toro Rosso appears, cuts the corner, damages my wing quite severely, and pushes me across the next part of the chicane, then disappears back in the pack. So that's not only caused damage, which is going to slow me down this first stint. It's going to shorten my first stint, make me go into a harder compound. I'm going to suffer in terms of time loss during that pit stop, not only in terms of the replacement of the wing, but also a 5-second penalty. So, it looks like starting 7th has really screwed me over here. It's imperative that I'm as far up the field as I can be at this point, because I know I'm going to drop back when the pit stop phase comes. I'm just trying to make it to a stage where I can get to the end with a decent tyre. Unfortunately, I don't think I could have got to a point where softs would have been ideal at all. Maznat retired there, so that's one championship rubble down, but it's Dregler who's closer. And of course Danny there, having a look down the inside on the main straight. I defended from her. I really couldn't afford to be held up, but talking of a hold up, look at this, it's so painful. I think actually it was more than 5 seconds as well, so even worse. No fault of my own. This pit stop's going to be incredibly long, maybe triple or more that of other people. Yeah, more. So we're going to be dropped out in P9. So here's Heisenberg, the second Ferrari, and unfortunately for me, he's lagging a bit, which is not ideal at all. Thankfully, it looks like I've got a good run compared to him. He must be on old socks, possibly started on them. So that might be 8th place there, but the cars in front you can see now, they've all pitted, and it's very difficult to catch up at Monza, possibly the most difficult track to exhibit skill and catch up if you're faster, because there's not much delta between people. And in my haste to catch up, my first actual mistake of the race, which is odd given that I'm already down in 8th place, now I'm 10th. I think that was Heisenberg and Bozza going back through. Now look at this, talking of luck, my left end plate just vanished at that point. I didn't even notice at the time, but I did notice a loss of downforce. And that's especially evident when I come out of the pits here, because I was going for fastest lap. I knew I'd drop back 1 or 2 positions, but I thought I could claim them back, and the car just didn't pull up. And I was like, what's going on? I apologised to Heisenberg, who had to avoid my mistake there. Thankfully, neither of our races were compromised too badly. Problem here now was that I had to pass Bozza, and you'd imagine, given my tyre differential being on the new Supersoft, I would be able to dispatch of him quite easily. What didn't make it so easy was the fact that he was lagging incredibly badly. Look at that. I was quite confident that one of us would be taken out by this. No blame could be attached to either of us. It's just an unfortunate part of this game and its netcode. It's horrible, really. Look at this. The risks I'm taking just to run side by side. I should have been in the slipstream. It's Monza, for God's sake. But it's just too risky. And you don't even know where he is. He's lagging backwards and forwards, but also side to side. So horrific. Craig, unfortunately, retiring there. He's not had a great run recently. He's had great qualifyings in the actual race, the Renault driver. Not really having the luck he needs. Talking of luck though, where's mine gone? My 100% podium streak this season.
We're not going to be able to run in this engine mode much longer. We're about a lap over target. Drop down to mix too soon.
Before this race I had a 100% podium record of 12 so far this season, 3rd at Australia, then either 1st or 2nd for all the other races. I think that's 4 victories. Finally we were able to pass Bozza, but it looks like the lag may have struck him as he went off there in the background. We did manage to get the fastest lap despite that damage, which was quite nice because that's my first of the season. Some silver lining to this race, although for me, I think I'd rather more than 4 points. And we're also the last to finish. That's an exhibit of how badly this went wrong. Everyone behind me a lap down, at least, so very poor race. Dregler victorious, 21 points, and a third of my points lead just cut right there. Next race will be Singapore, but I'll be determined to hit back. I've been Jacko, see you then.